It was supposed to be just another day on Earth, a day like any other. But the sky above, once so familiar, was now cloaked in an eerie silence. The usual hum of satellites, the buzz of communication systems, the constant monitoring from space stations, it all stopped at once. Earth's people didn't know it yet, but the end had begun. The aliens, known as the Zarnath Dominion, had set their sights on Earth. They were an advanced species, far superior in technology. Their fleet was massive, their ships cloaked, and their weapons capable of destroying cities in a single strike. They had studied Earth's defenses, calculated that humanity's tech was far too primitive, and concluded that the planet posed no real threat. With this arrogance, they launched their surprise orbital strike. Without warning, cloaked warships descended from the heavens. The Zarnath Dominion targeted major cities, key military bases, and communication hubs. In the blink of an eye, the most powerful defense systems in the world were obliterated, leaving the planet defenseless. The skies that once filled with satellites and spacecraft were now empty, silent, and scarred by the powerful explosions that rained down from above. The people on the ground had no idea what was happening. Governments scrambled, but all their efforts were in vain. Their most advanced weapons, their satellites, and their networks, all were gone in a flash. Humanity had been blindsided, left to watch as their world crumbled in a matter of hours. There was no time for panic, only confusion. The silence that followed the attack was deafening. However, amid the chaos, a small group of individuals knew something the rest did not. Deep within the heart of a top-secret government facility known as Project Sentinel, a hidden artificial intelligence designed to protect humanity in the event of such a crisis, had activated its emergency protocol. It was Earth's last hope. Project Sentinel was the result of years of research. It was built to be humanity's ultimate defense, a powerful AI system capable of controlling the world's remaining defenses, counteracting enemy moves, and even predicting the next steps of any invading force. The Zarnath Dominion's first mistake was not knowing about it. They had underestimated the human capacity for survival. As the world trembled under the weight of the alien invasion, one man, Sergeant Samuel Bonner, was on the front lines, unaware of the storm brewing above. Bonner was a young soldier, freshly deployed to a small outpost in the desert, miles away from the epicenter of the alien strike. His mission was simple: monitor the region for any unusual activity. But he never expected to be staring down an alien invasion. It started with a single alien drone. At first, it was nothing more than a blur in the sky, almost invisible against the backdrop of a setting sun. But Sergeant Bonner's sharp eyes caught it. He knew immediately what it was, something he had only heard about in reports. A Zarnath Dominion scout drone, just the tip of the spear of their invading force. It was cloaked, but Bonner's equipment could still detect the anomaly. Without hesitation, he fired. The drone exploded in a flash of light, scattering debris in the wind. Bonner stood there for a moment, watching the remains fall to the ground. But as the dust settled, he heard the hum of engines. Not just one, but dozens of them. The sky above his outpost suddenly became filled with alien ships, their cloaking devices flickering on and off. Bonner's heart raced. He didn't have much time to react. As the alien ships appeared in the sky, Bonner's radio crackled to life. His commander's voice, strained and urgent, came through the static. "Sergeant, this is Colonel Cross. We've lost contact with the main defense grid. We need your location now." Bonner's eyes darted around, his thoughts racing. The outpost he had been sent to protect was barely equipped to deal with a full-scale attack. The odds were against him, but he had no choice. He couldn't just sit back. Through his binoculars, Bonner saw the massive silhouette of an alien mothership approaching. It loomed like a shadow over the desert, its hull covered in sharp, jagged structures that pulsed with ominous blue energy. He knew that this was only the beginning. If the mothership was here, the real invasion was about to start. The realization hit him hard. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, outclassed. The Zarnath Dominion had technology that far surpassed anything humans had ever imagined. And yet Bonner stood alone, a mere soldier in the face of extinction. His outpost, like so many others around the world, would be the first to fall. But Bonner wasn't going to go down without a fight. He took a deep breath, focused on the task ahead. The odds were not in his favor, but there was one thing the Zarnath Dominion hadn't counted on: the resilience of the human spirit. Just as Bonner prepared to call for reinforcements, the ground shook beneath him. A bright flash of light erupted from the sky as a massive wave of energy tore through the atmosphere. Bonner had no time to react. Everything around him was disintegrating in an instant. The blast hit his outpost with such force that the walls crumbled like paper. For a brief moment, everything went dark. Bonner's vision blurred, his ears rang, and his mind struggled to make sense of the chaos. But as the smoke cleared and he regained his senses, something incredible happened. The AI system from Project Sentinel kicked into action. The air was filled with a hum of energy as Bonner's communication device came back online. It was a signal from Earth's last line of defense. Project Sentinel is now active. You are not alone, Sergeant Bonner. Hold your position. We are coming. Bonner couldn't believe what he was hearing. For a moment, doubt flickered in his mind. Was it real? Was humanity's hope truly still alive? Then, as he looked up at the sky once again, something shifted. A shadow crossed the heavens, and suddenly, the cloaked alien warships were visible, locked in the sights of Earth's powerful defenses. The tide was turning. The AI had activated the world's hidden defense systems. Satellites, once thought destroyed, flickered back to life, and human forces, from scattered bases across the globe, were mobilizing. The battle for Earth was far from over. But for now, all Bonner could do was fight. As the mothership loomed closer, he took up his weapon, ready to give humanity the time it needed to regroup. The war had just begun, and for the first time since the invasion, there was a glimmer of hope. The first wave of alien troops had already touched down on Earth's major continents. Their landing was swift, brutal, and without mercy. The Zarnath Dominion's armies flooded across cities, their technology far superior to anything humanity had. Massive alien walkers stomped through the streets, laying waste to everything in their path. Human forces, scattered and disorganized, began a desperate attempt at resistance, but the odds were overwhelmingly against them. In the face of this nightmare, Colonel Ethan Cross was the one remaining beacon of hope. From his secret underground bunker, hidden deep within the mountains, he oversaw Earth's fragile counteroffensive. His face, lined with stress and exhaustion, betrayed his determination. His voice, however, was sharp and steady as he barked orders to the remaining military leaders. "We cannot wait for reinforcements. We have to strike now," Cross muttered, his fingers tapping rhythmically on a digital map of Earth's major resistance points. His mind raced through hundreds of strategies, but only one seemed to have a chance at success. First, we need to disrupt their cloaking technology. If we can make their ships visible, even for just a few minutes, we can hit them hard. The plan was dangerous, foolish even, but it was the only option left. As Cross spoke, his team of engineers and soldiers worked tirelessly in the background. They weren't just preparing for a fight. They were about to face off against one of the most technologically advanced forces in the galaxy. It seemed impossible. Yet, somehow, in the darkest hour, humanity found a way. Bonner, leading his small team on the ground, knew that the resistance wouldn't last forever. The alien forces had already made it clear that they were capable of mass destruction. But Bonner, much like Cross, believed in one thing. If they had a chance, even a small one, humanity would fight. The solution to the aliens' cloaking technology lay in an old, forgotten relic. A satellite system, built decades ago during the height of Earth's space exploration, had been deactivated long before the invasion. But now, it was the last hope. It had been designed to detect anomalies in space, precisely the kind of technology they needed to reveal the cloaked ships. A ragtag group of scientists and soldiers was tasked with reactivating the system, an incredibly dangerous mission. If they succeeded, they would give Earth's forces a fighting chance. If they failed, the planet was doomed. Bonner's team was assigned to retrieve critical parts for the satellite. The journey would take them deep into the heart of an alien-occupied city. It was a suicide mission. They all knew it, but they also knew that humanity's survival depended on them. "We're not going to die here," Bonner said to his squad, his voice full of resolve. "We're going to make sure this satellite works, and we're going to show the aliens that Earth isn't just a helpless target." The team set out, moving quickly through the ruins of what was once a thriving metropolis. The alien forces had set up checkpoints everywhere, but Bonner and his squad, using their knowledge of the city's old underground tunnels, were able to avoid detection. Every step brought them closer to the satellite's control center, but every step also brought them closer to the alien forces that seemed to grow stronger with each passing hour. Finally, after hours of dodging patrols and barely avoiding capture, they'd reached their destination, an old space observatory, the heart of the satellite system. It was heavily guarded, with alien soldiers patrolling the area. But Bonner's team had no choice but to push forward. In a silent but coordinated attack, Bonner's team eliminated the guards one by one. It wasn't pretty. The battle was fast and brutal, each member of the team taking down an alien soldier with a mixture of precision and desperation. The room was filled with the sounds of muffled gunfire and the heavy thud of alien bodies hitting the ground. Once the area was secure, the scientists worked quickly to activate the satellite. Bonner watched nervously, knowing that every second they spent here was one they weren't going to get back. The alien mothership was hovering overhead, and time was running out. Suddenly, the satellite sprang to life, its massive dish spinning as it powered on. A flood of data filled the screens, and for the first time, the alien warships became visible. Bonner's heart raced as he watched the cloaked ships reveal themselves in the sky. They were no longer invisible. "Now we can hit them," Bonner muttered under his breath. He immediately called Cross, who was monitoring the operation from his bunker. "It's working, Colonel. We've got a shot." With the satellite's data flowing, Cross immediately ordered his forces to launch a full-scale attack. Fighter jets, retrofitted with Earth's most advanced technology, took off from their hidden bases, tearing through the atmosphere at breakneck speeds. They locked onto the now visible alien ships, their weapons primed for combat. What followed was a breathtaking dogfight, an aerial battle that would go down in history. The Earth's fighters, small and agile compared to the massive alien ships, weaved and dodged through the chaos of the skies. Explosions filled the air as they fired at the now visible warships. The aliens who had once believed they were untouchable now found themselves fighting for their survival. It was the first real victory for humanity, and it came at a great cost. On the ground, Bonner's team was still fighting. As they moved closer to the satellite's core, they encountered more alien resistance. They had no choice but to fight their way through, with each member of the team doing everything they could to protect the others. But as the mission progressed, tragedy struck. Bonner's closest friend, Private Harris, was the first to fall. A sudden blast sent him flying across the room, his body crumpling to the ground. Bonner had to fight to keep his composure, but the loss hit him like a freight train. Harris had been with him since the beginning of the war, and now he was gone. "Stay focused," Bonner shouted to the others, forcing his emotions to the back of his mind. There was no time for grief. But as the mission pressed on, the losses mounted. One by one, Bonner's team fell, until only he and a few others were left standing. They reached the final control room, and as the last alien soldier fell, Bonner pressed the button that activated the satellite's full capabilities. The lights flickered as the satellite hummed to life, and for the first time in the battle, humanity had the upper hand. The tide was turning, but as Bonner stood there, his heart heavy with the weight of the losses, he knew the fight was far from over. The aliens wouldn't give up so easily. But now, humanity had a chance. Colonel Ethan Cross stood in front of the holographic display, his face hard and determined. The weight of the war was heavy on his shoulders, but his resolve had never been clearer. The Zarnath Dominion had underestimated humanity, but now, with Earth's forces rallying around their one true hope, he had a plan, one that carried unimaginable risk. "Listen up," Colonel Cross began, his voice steady but with an edge of urgency. "We're going to hit them where it hurts. We're going to destroy their mothership." A collective gasp filled the command center. The Zarnath mothership, the heart of their entire invasion, was a fortress in space, nearly indestructible and shielded by advanced cloaking technology. To even think of taking it down was madness. But Cross had seen what humans were capable of, and he knew the only way to secure a future for Earth was to take that risk. "We'll overload their power core," Cross continued, his eyes meeting each officer in the room. "It'll trigger a chain reaction, a full-scale explosion. It'll wipe out their entire fleet. If we succeed, we win this war. If we fail..." He let the silence hang in the air. There was no room for failure. Humanity's survival was at stake. The mission was the most dangerous one yet, and only a handful of the bravest would step up to it. Bonner, standing at the back of the room, knew what he had to do. His heart raced, not with fear, but with the same unyielding determination that had kept him alive since the beginning of the war. This mission would be their last shot at survival. "I volunteer," Bonner said, stepping forward without hesitation. The room fell silent. Colonel Cross looked at him, his gaze hard but appreciative. "You'll need someone who can navigate their systems," Cross said, his voice grave. "This mission isn't something we can do with just brute force. We need someone who can get past their security, their cloaking, and their biometrics." Bonner knew who that someone was. Dr. Elena Vega, Earth's leading AI specialist, had been instrumental in understanding the alien technology since the invasion began. Her mind was as sharp as they came, and she had been working day and night to understand the Zarnath systems. It made sense that she would be the one to accompany Bonner. Elena, standing near the holographic table, met Bonner's gaze. Her eyes were filled with the pain of loss, but also with a fierce determination. The invasion had taken everything from her, her family, her home. But now, as she looked at Bonner, she saw a glimmer of hope. She had lost everything, but the strength she saw in him reminded her that there was still something worth fighting for. "I'm in," Elena said, her voice steady, but with a hint of the grief she had carried since the aliens had destroyed her home. The fire in her eyes, though, told a different story. She was ready to fight back. The mission was set. Bonner and Elena, along with a small team of engineers, would infiltrate the Zarnath mothership. It would bypass the alien cloaking systems, break through their biometric security, and plant a device that would overload the power core. If they succeeded, they would have the opportunity to destroy the Zarnath fleet and turn the tide of the war. The tension was palpable as the team boarded their stealth shuttle. As the ship rose into the atmosphere, the weight of their mission settled in. Every step they took now was a gamble. Every minute brought them closer to the alien mothership, but it also brought them closer to death. The shuttle, designed to be undetectable by the alien systems, moved quietly through the void of space. Bonner sat next to Elena, his gaze fixed on the display screen in front of him. Elena's fingers danced across the control panel, her mind already working through the complexities of the alien systems. "Are you sure about this?" Bonner asked, his voice low. He knew Elena's past. He knew the pain she carried, but he also knew that she had an uncanny ability to push past it and focus on the mission. Still, the question lingered. Were they truly ready to face the Zarnath at their most powerful? Elena looked at him, her eyes betraying the pain she had hidden so long. "I've lost everything," she said softly. "But this is the one thing I can still do. For Earth. For my family." Bonner nodded, understanding the weight of her words. This mission wasn't just about survival. It was about redemption. And as they neared the mothership, The stakes couldn't have been higher. The first obstacle came almost immediately. As they approached the alien ship, their shuttle began to glitch. The Zarneth's cloaking technology was in full effect, and they were quickly being pulled into a gravity well. Alina worked quickly, her fingers flying over the console as she bypassed the alien systems. Her hands shook with the pressure, but she was a professional, and she focused on the task at hand. "We're almost there," Alina muttered, sweat beading on her forehead. "I just need a few more seconds." Suddenly, a blaring alarm filled the shuttle, and the lights flickered. "Alina," Bonner shouted, his voice urgent. "We've been spotted." Before Alina could respond, the shuttle lurched violently, throwing them both off balance. The Zarneth had found them. Their warships, cloaked in the vastness of space, had locked onto the shuttle. Time was running out. "We need to move," Bonner barked. He grabbed Alina's arm and helped her stabilize herself. "We can't let them stop us." In that moment, the adrenaline took over. Alina worked quickly to override the alien systems, her fingers a blur. Bonner, ever vigilant, watched the redouts as they approached the mothership's core. They had to act now. "Bonner, we're close," Alina said, her voice tense but steady. "Once I breach their core security, you'll have to plant the device. We have one shot at this." "One." Bonner nodded. "We're not leaving until we make it count." As Alina's hacking bypassed the final layer of security, Bonner grabbed the device and prepared for what was to come. With each passing second, they were being drawn closer to the alien mothership, and the danger was rising exponentially. But neither of them hesitated. They had come too far to turn back now. The final hurdle was the biometric scanners. The Zarneth used advanced biological signatures to detect intruders, but Alina had a plan. She had designed a virus to mimic their biological codes. It was risky, and the margin for error was almost non-existent, but it was their only option. With a deep breath, Alina initiated the virus, and the scanners blinked green. They were in. "Now," Bonner shouted as he rushed toward the power core. He planted the device with shaking hands, then pulled away, watching the countdown begin. As the device activated, alarms rang throughout the mothership. The core was beginning to overload, but they weren't done yet. The ship was on the verge of self-destruction, and they had mere minutes to escape. But just as they turned to leave, an explosion rocked the ship. A piece of debris slammed into Bonner, sending him flying across the room. Alina screamed as she rushed to his side, but Bonner, despite the blood oozing from his wound, smiled. "Get out of here, Alina," he whispered. "Finish this." Alina fought the tears that threatened to spill, but she knew what had to be done. With a final glance at Bonner, she ran, the destruction of the mothership their only hope. The countdown continued. The battle between the Zarneth Dominion and Earth had taken an unexpected turn. After a series of brutal defeats, the once mighty alien fleet had been pushed back. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Zarneth had considered themselves invincible, their technology far superior to anything humanity could muster. But despite the overwhelming odds, the humans had somehow fought back with a ferocity and resourcefulness that left the alien commanders scratching their heads. The Zarneth fleet had suffered a devastating blow. Their ships had been disabled, their defensive systems breached, and their morale shattered. It was the first time in the entire invasion that the alien forces had been forced to retreat. But despite the clear signs of defeat, the Zarneth leader, Overlord Thrax, remained unconvinced. "This is a fluke," Thrax growled, his cold, reptilian eyes narrowing as he watched the reports flood in. "The humans are not capable of this. Their victory is nothing more than a fortunate accident. We will crush them." Thrax's arrogance was palpable. He had seen human resistance before, but never like this. The humans were unpredictable, their tactics chaotic yet effective. The alien leader refused to acknowledge that humanity had anything more than luck on their side. And so, as the Zarneth regrouped and prepared for their next assault, they underestimated the one thing that had been humanity's greatest strength all along: adaptability. On Earth, the humans were already planning their next move. They had tasted victory, but they knew that this war was far from over. Colonel Ethan Cross, the leader of the human resistance, knew that they had to change their approach. The Zarnath had learned from their mistakes, and they would come back stronger. The key to their survival was not in matching the Zarnath strength for strength, but in using their own unique advantages to stay one step ahead. Technology may fail, but the human spirit doesn't, Colonel Cross said, addressing his gathered team. We've already shown them that we can hit hard. Now it's time to show them that we can think smarter. The humans had already proven their strength on land, in the skies, and in space, but now they needed to use the one element the Zarnath couldn't anticipate, the unpredictable nature of Earth itself. They would use guerrilla tactics, relying on their knowledge of Earth's geography and natural resources. The Zarnath had become reliant on their advanced technology, but the humans would exploit the terrain, their environment, and their cunning to outwit their alien enemies. One of the most surprising strategies came from the ocean depths. The Zarnath had been so focused on Earth's surface and its atmosphere that they had underestimated the power hidden beneath the waves. Human submarines, retrofitted with experimental technology, were dispatched to the deepest parts of the oceans, where the Zarnath had no radar or sensors to track them. These submarines would become the humans' secret weapon. As the Zarnath fleet continued its aggressive assault on Earth's cities and major military bases, they failed to notice the silent approach of the human submarines. They moved like ghosts through the blackened waters, their hulls designed to blend into the darkness of the deep sea. The ocean, with its vast and impenetrable depths, was the perfect hiding place for the humans to strike from. Colonel Cross watched from the command center as the countdown began. "Get ready," he muttered under his breath. This was it. The plan had been set in motion. The submarines would launch their surprise attack in a matter of minutes. If they were successful, they would breach the Zarnath's defenses and give the humans a fighting chance at victory. On board the lead submarine, Captain Sarah Dawson gripped the controls, her hand steady despite the immense pressure of the mission. Her crew was ready. They had trained for this moment, and they knew that their success would depend on their ability to strike fast and disappear before the aliens could retaliate. "We're in position," Dawson reported. The deep-water sonar scans had confirmed that the Zarnath fleet was just above them, unaware of the threat lurking below. "Launch torpedoes," came the order from the command center, and with a precise motion, Captain Dawson released the payload. The torpedoes shot through the water, their sleek bodies cutting through the ocean with deadly accuracy. They were designed to bypass the Zarnath's powerful shields, using a specialized charge that could disrupt their energy fields. The explosion was deafening, even underwater. The Zarnath ships above them shook as their shields faltered and shattered. In the command center, the humans watched in awe as the screen showed the alien vessels losing power, their defensive systems faltering. The attack had worked. In the chaos that followed, the humans struck with everything they had. Fighter jets, retrofitted to deal with the Zarnath's cloaking technology, tore through the skies, engaging alien warships in a brutal dogfight. The Zarnath, still reeling from the submarine assault, were now caught off guard by the full force of the human counterattack. It was a stunning turn of events. For the first time, the humans had gained the upper hand. The Zarnath were no longer the hunters. They were the hunted. But amidst the chaos, the humans didn't forget the true reason behind their success. It wasn't just technology or strategy. It was the human spirit. Earth's greatest weapon wasn't in their machines or their tactics. It was in their ability to adapt, to survive, and to fight for their home. As Colonel Cross watched the battle unfold on the monitors, he couldn't help but smile. The humans had done what no one thought possible. They had taken down the Zarnath fleet, at least for now, but he knew this was just the beginning. "They'll come back," Cross said, his voice filled with resolve. "They'll think they can win, that they can break us, but they don't understand. Our unpredictability is our strength. We won't fight their way. We'll fight ours. As the humans celebrated their hard-won victory, they knew that the war was far from over. The Zarnith would regroup, they would adapt. But humanity had proven that they were capable of the impossible. They had struck a blow to the alien invaders, and now they had a glimmer of hope. In the war against the Zarnith, one thing had become clear. The aliens had underestimated humanity. They had underestimated Earth's most powerful weapon, the unpredictability of the human spirit. The sky above Earth had turned black with the shadows of the Zarnith Dominion's warships. Overlord Thrax, the cold and ruthless leader of the alien forces, had deployed his largest fleet yet, preparing for what he believed would be the final assault that would obliterate humanity. His fleet, larger and more advanced than anything the Zarnith had ever sent to Earth, hovered ominously in space, ready to rain down destruction. The time had come to end the war, and Thrax was confident that the humans would fall before his might. But the humans were not ready to give up. They had already endured so much, fought back against overwhelming odds, and now, despite the endless suffering, they had something the Zarnith could never understand: an unbreakable will to survive. The fight for Earth had come down to one final stand. In every corner of the planet, humans prepared for what could be their last battle. Governments, military leaders, and resistance groups had gathered their forces. From the high-tech cities to the most remote outposts, every soldier, every civilian, every last survivor knew that this battle was their last chance to keep their world. Colonel Ethan Cross, now a symbol of humanity's determination, was overseeing the final defense effort. All their resources, what was left of their technology, their weapons, and their people had been put into this one desperate push. The final stand would be a battle on two fronts: in the sky above Earth, where orbital bombardments would rain down on the cities, and on the ground, where human soldiers would face off against the alien forces that had already begun to land. The Zarnith were relentless. Their fleets in orbit began launching devastating missiles and energy blasts, attempting to wipe out Earth's major strongholds. Below, the ground was torn apart by alien forces deploying soldiers, robots, and machines meant to crush any remaining resistance. As the humans geared up for battle, they knew the stakes. Their military, weakened by previous losses and overwhelmed by the sheer size of the Zarnith fleet, had few options left. But despite the odds, they were not without hope. Colonel Cross had a plan, one that had been prepared in secret, one final maneuver that could turn the tide of the war. "We have one shot," Cross said to his commanders. "We have to make this count." In a hidden underground facility, deep beneath the surface of Earth, the humans launched their final weapon: an experimental EMP device. This prototype had been developed in the aftermath of their previous battles, a last-ditch effort to turn the tables on the alien invaders. The EMP would target the Zarnith fleet's electronics, shutting down their weapons, shields, and communication systems, leaving their ships vulnerable to attack. The human forces had one final hope: the EMP had to work. If it didn't, humanity would have no chance of surviving this final onslaught. The EMP weapon was fired, and in an instant, Earth's skies were lit up by the shockwave. From space, the Zarnith fleet's ships began to falter. Energy shields flickered and died. Weapons systems powered down. Communications were cut off. It was a perfect strike. The Zarnith were left vulnerable in the void of space, their technology completely disabled. Now the humans had a window of opportunity, a window that they had to capitalize on, or they would be lost forever. The air was filled with the roar of battle as Earth's forces launched into action. Fighter jets, retrofitted with the latest technology, darted through the skies, engaging the now disabled alien warships in a series of breathtaking dogfights. The skies above Earth were alive with the thunder of combat as humanity's final defense hung in the balance. But it wasn't just the sky that was filled with chaos. On the ground, the Zarnith had already begun their assault. Sergeant Bonner, whose bravery had become a symbol of human resilience, was among the soldiers who had volunteered for the final mission. He and his unit were tasked with holding back the alien forces long enough to allow the EMP weapon to take full effect. As the ground trembled under the weight of alien forces, Bonner led his men through the smoke and flames, their mission clear: protect the final hope of humanity. But as the battle raged on, Bonner was forced to confront a painful truth. He had already seen too much death. Too many good people, too many soldiers, had fallen. His unit was losing ground, and the alien forces were closing in. He could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. But he had no choice. He couldn't stop now. Not after everything they had sacrificed. Not after the loss of so many. In the midst of the chaos, Bonner was reminded of the sacrifice he had already witnessed. Flashbacks filled his mind. The faces of fallen comrades. The weight of each loss. Among them was Elena Vega, the AI specialist who had helped lead the infiltration mission that had struck a devastating blow to the alien fleet. Bonner had been with Elena through some of humanity's darkest hours. Her loss had been felt deeply, not just by him, but by all who had fought beside her. "We fight not because we can," Bonner had once told his team, "but because we must." It was this unyielding determination, this resolve to keep fighting, that had brought humanity to this moment. And now, as Bonner led his soldiers into the heart of the alien onslaught, he realized that the fight wasn't just about survival. It was about ensuring that the human spirit could never be extinguished. Back in space, Overlord Thrax had boarded his largest warship, preparing for the final confrontation. He was determined to destroy Earth once and for all. His forces were crippled, but Thrax believed that if he could personally lead the attack, he could snuff out humanity's last chance. The final showdown would take place in the void of space, as his flagship moved towards Earth, prepared to fire the finishing blow. But Colonel Cross, alongside his most trusted ally, Elena Vega, was waiting for this moment. They had both survived the worst of the war, and now they stood together, ready to face the alien leader. The two human warriors, their bond forged through years of battle, boarded a stealth ship and made their way toward the heart of the alien flagship. Their mission was clear: defeat Overlord Thrax and ensure that the EMP weapon's success was not in vain. They fought their way through the alien ship, overcoming alien drones and soldiers, until they finally reached the command center where Thrax awaited. The final battle was nothing short of epic. Thrax, towering and imposing, faced off against Cross and Elena in a one-on-one confrontation. His alien strength was immense, but the teamwork and determination of the humans were unmatched. Elena's skills in combat, honed through years of resistance, combined with Cross's strategic genius, gave them the upper hand. They fought with everything they had, each blow bringing them closer to victory. In the end, it was Cross who landed the final blow. With a well-placed strike, he disabled Thrax's armor, and Elena, with a quick and precise move, knocked the alien leader to the ground. Thrax, in his final moments, looked up at the two humans, and for the first time, he realized the truth. The Zarneth had underestimated humanity. They had underestimated the power of human resolve. As Thrax fell, the remaining alien fleet retreated, their morale shattered. Earth had won, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the unbreakable will of its people. The Zarneth had learned the hard way that humanity would never back down, no matter the odds. Humanity's survival was a testament to what could be accomplished when people fought not for themselves, but for the survival of their species. Earth had won, and the Zarneth had been forced to retreat. The final battle had been won. Against all odds, humanity had proven that they were far stronger than the aliens had ever imagined. The war was over, but the memory of the fight would live on forever. The war was over. The Zarneth fleet had finally retreated, their once imposing warships now fleeing from Earth's orbit. Overlord Thrax, the alien leader who had once believed that humanity would crumble before the might of the Zarneth dominion, had been defeated. His defeat was a humbling one, not just for him, but for his entire empire. As his fleet disappeared into the depths of space, Thrax, his pride shattered, uttered words that would echo across the galaxy. Humans are not to be trifled with. It was a victory that no one had expected, least of all the aliens. From the very beginning, humanity had been seen as an underdog, weak, technologically inferior, and unprepared for the overwhelming force of the Zarnath. But the humans had proven them wrong. They had fought with everything they had, not just with weapons, but with their determination, their adaptability, and most of all, their unbreakable spirit. Now, as the alien fleet withdrew, the people of Earth stood on the brink of a new era. Yet, even in victory, there was sorrow. Sergeant Bonner, one of the heroes of the war, had made the ultimate sacrifice. His death had been a turning point in the battle, a moment that had inspired humanity to keep fighting, even when the odds seemed impossible. But that sacrifice came with a price. The war had taken so much from them: lives, families, homes, but it had also united them in ways they had never thought possible. As Earth began to rebuild, the world's leaders gathered in a historic summit. The war had changed everything. People from every nation, every continent, set aside their differences and worked together to form a new unified Earth Council. This council was tasked with ensuring that Earth would never again face the kind of destruction that the Zarnath had brought upon them. It was a declaration of peace, a promise that humanity would stand together, no longer divided by borders or ideologies, but united as one. The Earth Council was not just a political body. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience. It represented everything humanity had fought for: survival, unity, and peace. The Council's first act was to declare that Earth would remain vigilant, ready to defend itself from any future threats. They knew that the galaxy was vast, and the Zarnath were not the only threat that might come. But with their united strength, humanity was now ready to face whatever came next. In the months following the retreat of the Zarnath fleet, the people of Earth began to rebuild. Cities that had been devastated by the alien attack were slowly restored. New technologies, born out of necessity during the war, were now used to improve life for everyone. Renewable energy sources, advanced medical treatments, and improved infrastructure became the foundation of the new world. People worked together, sharing knowledge and resources, determined to create a better future for the next generation. But it wasn't just about rebuilding the physical world. It was about healing the emotional wounds of the war. Families who had lost loved ones, like Bonner's comrades, began to find ways to honor the fallen. Monuments were erected in cities around the world, and ceremonies were held to remember the sacrifice that had been made. Bonner's name was spoken with reverence, his legacy forever etched into the history of Earth's victory. His sacrifice had been a turning point, and now his memory would live on as a symbol of what it meant to fight for something greater than oneself. The emotional closure was not just for those who had fought in the war, but for all of humanity. They had faced annihilation and had survived. They had proven that they could stand together, united in purpose, against a force that had once seemed unstoppable. The victory was bittersweet, but it was also hopeful. It was a reminder that no matter how dark the times may seem, there is always hope, always a way to fight back, even when the odds are stacked against you. As the days passed and Earth's recovery continued, the world's leaders knew they had to send a message to the galaxy, a message that would echo across the stars. They had learned from the war, and they would not allow history to repeat itself. They had faced the Zarnath and had emerged victorious, and they knew that they would not be the last to come to Earth's door. But now, they were ready for whatever came next. In a historic moment, Earth's leaders broadcast a message into space, sending a clear warning to anyone who might consider threatening humanity again. The message was simple, but it carried the weight of everything that had been fought for. This is Earth. We are ready for you. The message was not one of arrogance or defiance. It was a message of strength, a declaration that humanity was no longer a vulnerable species hiding in the corner of the galaxy. They had faced their worst fears and had come out stronger. They were not invincible, but they were resilient, and they were ready for whatever might come next. The broadcast was sent to every corner of space, to every alien race that might be watching. The message was clear: humanity would not go down without a fight. They had proven that they were not just survivors, they were warriors, and they were no longer afraid of what lay beyond the stars. As the message echoed through the vastness of space, Earth's people gathered together in a final moment of unity. They had fought for their home, for their families, and for each other. Now, they stood together, not just as citizens of Earth, but as a symbol of hope for the universe. They had faced the greatest threat their world had ever known, and had emerged victorious. And with that victory, they had forged a new legacy, a legacy that would inspire generations to come. The war had taken so much from them, but it had also given them something precious, a newfound understanding of their own strength. They had learned that they were not alone in the universe, not in the literal sense, perhaps, but in the sense that they could rely on each other, no matter what. Earth was not just a planet. It was a family, a community bound together by the shared experience of survival. And with that bond, they were ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. The Zarnith had retreated, their fleet scattered across the stars, but they would not be forgotten. Humanity had shown them that Earth was not a prize to be taken. It was a home worth protecting, a world worth fighting for. And the aliens had learned the hard way that underestimating humanity would be their greatest mistake.